All right. I see my man. He's in the background. Ted Rall, political cartoonist, syndicated columnist, co-host of the TMI Morning Show with Manila Chan. And also, you have a show with John Kiriakou.
True.
What's the name of the show with John Kiriakou?
Deprogram.
Deprogram. That's the name of that show.
Come to be deprogrammed.
He is a great person to talk to. John has so many stories, and he has a story about everything. It's like he's a fascinating guy. I remember he was telling me this UFO thing once, where I think I brought up UFOs to him because that's one of my favorite subjects.
Yeah.
And he tells, I don't know if he's ever mentioned this on the show, but he talks about how him and his dad are driving out one day, and they see these people who are parked the car ahead of them. And when they looked up at the sky, there was a massive craft. And all of these people got out the car. They were just staring up at the craft like, oh my God, are we really seeing this? And the thing just shut off. It's like, bat out of hell, just gone. And he gets in the car and he tells his dad, he says, hey, who should we tell about this? And he says, who would believe us? Like, meaning, do you really call the cops for this? Okay, what are you going to tell the cops about this? He has a story for everything.
They're going to say yeah.
They may back then. Today, I'm not sure.
No, not really. I mean, the government has admitted it. I mean, freely, right? I mean, the Air Force, they released the videos. I mean, there's no question. There is no question. I mean, I think there's no question now. I mean,
I agree with you.
Who pays attention?
Yeah, the Director of National Intelligence, that report that came out was very clear. This is not interdimensional fish. Mm-hmm. It's not swamp gas. These are pieces of technology.
Balloons.
They're not weather balloons. The favorite story that they used to say for Roswell is like he's holding on to the thing and it says, "Oh, look at this plastic that the military couldn't determine that was they thought that this plastic aluminum foil was an airplane." Are you really telling me that the Air Force couldn't tell the difference between a weather balloon and an airplane? Okay, fair enough. If that's what you're going to tell the American public, right? No, that issue is a fascination of mine, like nobody's business. And I have done video interview after interview with people who come on the channel and have the conversation. But that's not what I watch you on. I mean, we can talk about that for 30 minutes. But
I have UFO stories, so yeah.
Do you? Yeah. See, I've never told the audience my UFO stuff. At least I don't think I have. Not this iteration of my audience. I told I used to talk about esoteric topics on before this became a mostly political channel. Mm-hmm. What's your UFO thing? I'm curious.
So you probably know about this because you're a student of this field. But I'm from Dayton, Ohio, right, which is where the biggest Air Force base in the country, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
It's the birthplace of aviation. It's where the Wright brothers are from. It's why it's called Wright. It's the Wright brothers field is where they built the Air Force Base eventually.
Yeah.
So anyway, back in the mid '60s, I believe it was 1965. I'd have to double check that. There was a summer weekend when the Dayton and other regional police departments received thousands of phone calls from Daytonians about UFO sightings. And they were all calling the cops and saying, oh my God, there's objects zipping all over the night sky, right? It's one of like the top 10 kind of incidents. It's not Roswell, but it's a big deal. Yeah. And anyway, ham radio operators who were listening to intercepting Air Force transmissions, they listened to and some recorded the sounds of fighter jets from Wright-Pat being scrambled to pursue whatever it was, this bogey, right, unidentified flying object across the sky. And they heard one of them say, "Oh, I've acquired the target, and I've intercepted it, and it's going down." This is all like just public record. Then at near Vandalia, near where the Air Force Base is, and near where the airport is, something crashed into a farmer's field, and basically the place was surrounded by military, police, cordoned off. The farmer and his wife were basically given a pile of $100 bills and told, "You don't live here anymore," and zip it, and so the whole Hangar 18 story comes out of that incident. Okay, so Hangar 18 is at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Right. So it's still classified. basically at an Air Force base, most buildings have just a number, right? Like building 74, whatever. The military, it's not that exciting. Anyway,
But they don't want people to know what's in those things. It's like we need to be as nondescript as possible, right?
So the rumor was that 4 little green men had been found and were kept on ice in Hangar 18. There's even been there's kind of like a crappy movie that's sort of based on this idea. And anyway, so my father was a big muckety muck in the Air Force. And in fact, he has a building named after him at Wright Pat, Rall Hall, right?
Does he?
You look him up. Some people call him the father of the modern Air Force. You can look it up, Fred Rall. So he was a major aeronautical engineer. He was a project director for like the F-111, F-14, F-15, F-16, and so on. Designed Pratt & Whitney engines. It was a big deal. Anyway, he had quite a big career in the Air Force. He was a consultant at NASA, did a lot early NASA, sort of in the big days. He gave me some of his old files from work because he's old. He's 96 years old. And they're kind of amazing to read. Anyway, long story short, when I turned 18, he took me out drinking because that was the drinking age at the time. And we got pretty loaded, father and son drinking. And he's like, at one point he said, you can ask me any question you want and I'll answer truthfully, which for him was a big deal because truth wasn't always his thing.
Right.
Let's just say he didn't lie, but he just sort of didn't share. Okay, he's blocked out.
Especially a military guy, right? It's like there's certain things I can't say, right?
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, Dad, what I want to know is what's in Hangar 18? And he goes, can you be more specific? I'm like,
it's like, you know what I'm talking about, Dad.
Yeah, and I go, okay, are there 3 little green alien men in Hangar 18 on ice? There's a long pause, and he said, they're not green.
Yeah.
And then, okay, roll forward. Many, many years later, I was friends with this woman who.
Wait a minute. He stopped there? You didn't push further? Like,
I pushed.
What do you mean, Dad?
He was like, that's it. That's all I'm saying. And then years later, this was 9 years later, I returned to college because I had been thrown out, and I came back 6 years later. And I had made friends with this woman in college, and we went out for drinks with her mother. Her mother was older, obviously, and she said, I used to be a secretary for the Air Force, and they used to fly me around to do, particularly to take notes for highly classified incidents where they needed a note taker, like a transcriber. And I said, really? And like what kind of things? I didn't lead the witness. I didn't ask her anything. And she goes, well, let me tell you the weirdest fucking thing I ever had to do. And she goes, they blindfolded me. They put me in a plane, and they didn't say where I was. They lead me out, and then I'm in some kind of huge building, I assume at a military facility, but I don't know where. And there is some kind of alien vessel, and it's all being analyzed by scientists, and I was required to take notes about it. And I'm like, no way. And I'm like, when is this? And she's like, this was 1965. And I go, so like, what was there? And she said, well, there were 4 aliens, and they were being analyzed and autopsied and everything. And I go, what did they look like? And she said, they were like grayish white. And I said, well, is it like the cliche, like in the X-Files with the big eyes? She said, pretty much. And I was like, so wait a minute. I think you were in Hangar 18 at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base north of Dayton. And we kind of like, I'm pretty sure she was, and it was like the fact that she brought this story up and kind of like didn't, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I never talked about this to anyone else. I mean, so like you, it's like, it's like, oh, you don't talk about stuff like this. Everyone thinks you're nuts, especially back then. Now, not really now, but
Ted, your dad would have never gotten out of that.
If yourself, right?
If that was my dad, I would have hounded. Like, I would not have been able to let him get by with that.
People think I'm implacable, but he's crazy, like buttoned up. he's old school, man. He's born in 1928. It's like, no way. He's not telling you anything he doesn't want to tell you. You know? He's
Oh
born
man,
with
that would
fucking
bug the
Calvin
shit out of
Coolidge was
me.
president, you know?
That would bug the hell out of me. That would bug the hell out of me. Like it is. I went through a period where it was intense. Like my interest in that subject matter was so intense. It was overwhelming. The audience thinks I'm insane about this stuff now. They have not seen me when I was like, heavy into it. I wanted to know what was in it. I wanted to know how to make contact. I want to know everything about it.
Sure.
Like all of that
Sure.
stuff.
Well, I mean,
It's
because it's literally one of the, maybe it's the most, it's tied for the most important question
yeah,
of all, right? Like, literally, where do human beings fit in the universe, right?
yes.
Are we
What does it
unique?
mean to be a person?
Yeah, are we unique? Are there others who are analogous or like us? There must be. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, it's like Carl Sagan said, the universe is just too big a place, right? When you, I mean, I was a physics major, right? My first 3 years, and when you study astrophysics and you just realize,
The
you
scale.
try to realize how big the universe is,
Oh, the
how many
scale.
planets there
So
are.
intense.
It's like you can't wrap your head around it. But
Yeah.
it's just not possible to be like in such a big place that there's just us. Really?
You would need to invoke God. I mean, you really would, right? Like
And then,
you would have to.
what kind of, and God would be a weird dude to have done this.
We're only going to do this once.
Why?
Right. We're only going to do it once.
I mean, you just need amino acids, you know? I mean, it's like, and some heat and some water, you know, it's which all things that exist all over the universe. So
Yeah.
it's like, you know, obviously. I mean, you know, like I always mention the Lake Baikal example, right? Like, so at the bottom of Lake Baikal in Russia.
Oh, the volcanic thing? Where you find life growing in volcanic pits?
At the bottom of the lake, right? It's dark
Yeah.
and cold and deep and black, and there's no sun. And then, but there's life down there
Yeah.
that just basically spontaneously generates from the water and the, you know, and the heat. The water hits the heat, and like little organisms occur. That's what it is. Life
It's
comes
like
from heat plus water. That's it.
yeah. It's like if there's any chance, life springs out of it. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
All right. I want to get to a political thing. I would say one thing, but the scale of the universe. One of the things that I love about Three Body, the book, in fact, all three are fascinating. Dark Forest, Death Sin, the first one is Three Body. It is science in a religious way. I don't know how to explain it. It's like scientific triumphalism in the way that the book is written, where science is, it's not, and maybe religious is the wrong word for it. There's an aspect of it where the guy says, Wilson, only a brain. And what he's talking about is humanity, and the way the author writes it, the earth puts all of its power that it's developed over the course of, let's say, 50, 60 years, just in the brain hurling through space at 1% the speed of light. And that's the best that the earth could do. Like, meaning all of these nuclear missiles, all of these nuclear bombs, all of these nuclear weapons, basically all of the might of Earth, the best they could do is 1% the speed of light. And the author was trying to make this point of, A, how big the universe is in regards to scale, just in our own solar system. And two, how fast the speed of light is in comparison to where humanity has gotten along that scale. Meaning, if we're comparing ourselves to anything, we're comparing ourselves to the physics of the universe. And we're nowhere. Like, it's like this tiny blip. That's us. Oh, that book is so good. The books are so good.
Yeah, we're lonely. Right. We're really isolated.
We are.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's kind of like a good analogy to this is like, so Hawaii is the most isolated place on Earth in terms of population. No other place is as far away from populated areas. When you go there, you kind of have this, you know, sort of subconscious awareness of that, where, you know, it's just like there's just ocean, you know, for thousands of miles on every side, and no people to be found, right? Which parenthetically makes it incredible that it was settled, right? Like that basically people came there in dugout canoes from Polynesia, and you know they're like, yeah, let's just go into that ocean, let's just find it, and like you know, see what's there, and they did. But the point is, like, that's kind of like the role of humans in the universe. We're like Hawaii. We're in the middle of nowhere. Yeah,
the end of the spiral galaxy.
Yeah. Although that can't be true either. It's got to be true that like there are adjacent intelligent life, you know, forms, you know, next door to each other. There
Yeah.
just has to be, because it's a bell curve.
And by the way, and just be clear, next door may mean 10 light years, 20 light years, 30 light,
maybe one
ungodly
light.
distances.
Right? Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, we would never know. Like we just would know.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to politics.
All right.
You've indulged my fetish for a while, so I appreciate that.
Anytime.
Karine Jean-Pierre, the historic White House press secretary, has apparently decided to leave the Democratic Party and hawk her book. And those things, I don't think that those things are coincidentally put together. So she comes out. I want to show part of this video of her talking about this. And mind you, her issue is the White House was weird, I suppose. And B, she didn't like the way that they treated her president. I didn't like the way they treated Joe Biden because, Joe Biden was supposed to be in a glass vase somewhere, despite the fact that he was a political figure like any other. This was Karine Jean-Pierre.
I was shocked by what I look, personally, I think what was the toughest thing to see in the 3 weeks was there was a disconnect for me, what was happening with leadership in the Democratic Party and how it was truly, as my former colleague, communications director, Ben LeBolt said, it was a firing squad. And I had never seen anything like it before. I'd never seen a party do that in the way that they did. And it was hurtful and sad to see that happening. A firing squad around a person who I believe was a true patriot, a person who I believe did everything that he can for this country, a person who I believe, as I mentioned before, has done more in one term than most presidents had done in 2 terms.
Obviously, Karine Jean-Pierre believes in Santa Claus also.
What?
That is insane. That is insane.
I thought you were gonna show me something that just showed what a lying sack she is. I didn't realize she was a complete idiot too.
Yes, or lunatic, one or the other. She could be a lunatic and believe all of that, right? Like you could totally be just out of your mind. Crazy people don't know they're crazy.
He accomplished more than all other presidents in 2 terms. Okay, the only legislative accomplishment of Joe Biden, and this may not be his fault, is the Build Back Better bill. That's it. Okay. There's nothing else. I'm sorry. Like, can we call President Johnson and say, Medicaid and Medicare? Those are kind of like a big deal. The war on poverty, the Civil Rights Acts, not 1 but 2 of them. I'm sorry, that's kind of, and that's 1 term. Well, I guess it's 1 1/4 terms. It's like FDR, really? It's like, hell, Richard Nixon created the Environmental Protection Agency, opened relations with China. Reagan. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, she's crazy. It's like, and then also the firing squad thing. That's overdue. Like during those 3 weeks. Like,
agreed.
Joe Biden never should have run for president. I mean, as we speak, Trump has announced that there's going to be an investigation of what I call Biden Gate. And there ought to be. And it's like, it's going to be very politicized, but what can you do? It's politics. But there needs to be accountability. We need to know what happened and how it happened. I mean, we know what happened. We need to know how it happened and who's responsible and hold people accountable.
Wait, hold people accountable how?
It's like Biden had it coming. It was 4 years late. He never ought to have been president in the first place. He was senile in 2019. What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck she's talking about. I mean, and maybe her issue is, and I had to defend him for those weeks. It's like, do you know how hard my job was when I had to get out there and I knew this was senile and I had to defend that nonsense? I mean, what is she talking about? She was like, I've never seen anything like that after the debate. I've never seen anything like that debate.
Right. Like, no one's ever seen anything like that. And I'm not just saying in the U.S. I don't think, honestly, other countries, Sweden, nothing like that ever happened there. You know what I mean? Like, it's like unheard of. Like, it's the madness of King George. I mean, we're literally, but it's on international television. It's
everybody's watching.
He was the Mad King, right? I mean, what the?
Yeah,
I mean,
everybody's
all
watching.
the Democrats were doing at that point was long belatedly, way overdue, finally taking out the trash. That's it.
Well, for the longest time, they had kept telling us he's sharp as a tack. He's on it.
Well,
He's
she's the one.
in those meetings. Yeah.
By the way, she never saw him. According to Tapper's book, she never saw him.
Are you serious?
Yeah, for like ages. I mean, the White House press secretary is supposed to meet with the president.
That is supposed to be close.
Yeah, they're supposed to be like, they're supposed to get FaceTime with them. It's part of the requirement of the job, and just to make sure they're messaging properly and that they really sort of are on the same page. They're really supposed to be the embodiment of the president in front of that podium. That's certainly how it's been in the past. Mm-hmm. That wasn't the case for her. She hardly ever saw him. I mean,
but she felt deeply about it, Ted. She felt very deeply about it, apparently.
And
so she is leaving the party. She's apparently calling herself an independent. She's preaching against party politics, which is just astonishing to me. Yeah. It's like I have to hawk my book, so now I need to, do this stuff. On the other one,
incoherent. I mean, she can't even just lie. You know what I mean? Like, it's just sort of like it's the ravings of a madwoman. I mean, she's like here in Manhattan, some guy like drooling on the subway and like that's what this is like. So it's really crazy. I mean,
she can't accept that debate was something unseen. Like, I've never seen anything like that. I sat there and watched, and it started from the very first statement that Joe Biden made. We beat Medicare. And Trump is like, you sure did beat the hell out of Medicare? Basically, Trump was teeing up off the nonsense that Joe Biden was saying. At one point, Trump was like, I don't know what he said there. I don't even know if he knows what he said there. Like, meaning Trump was not even a debater.
Game over.
Yeah. He just hit it over and over and over again, just unforced error. He at least seemed listless. He seemed out of it. It's like they didn't give him a shot or something. And everybody else saw that. And her job was to come out and say, there is no spoon.
Well, the truth is that he was repeatedly like that before. And for those of us, and you were one of them, for those of us who paid attention, you could see all that, where, he's calling out for dead people, where he's, babbling incoherently the few times that he talked to the press. And basically, you're just supposed to ignore that. Like, the emperor has fine clothes, no worries. And it went on like that for years, where we were supposed to not see what we could see. Oh, he's a stutter. There was no stutter. I mean, they acted like we were all idiots. And I guess we were, because we put up with it, But holy cow.
Yeah, just astonishing. Just astonishing. And then you point out there's no accountability for any of it. None. And every time it comes up, Democrats are like, well, I just want to move forward. I just want to talk about what's going forward. It's like, no, dude, you told us that Donald Trump was the coming of the Antichrist, that he was the end of all things. And you put up a guy who could not form a sentence and who seems to be cognitively damaged. So
and you put him in not only ahead of Bernie Sanders, but against 24 other better qualified candidates, right? Who were all running. I mean, seriously, if you're Amy Klobuchar, you're not a little pissed. I mean, it's like Pete Buttigieg, whatever. You're a little pissed, right? Like, they put this guy instead of me. And then here's the part I really think is fascinating. They themselves, the DNC, the White House, the Biden's team, they appointed Kamala even though they didn't think she could be president.
Yep.
But that's the number one requirement. It's sort of like, I don't know. It's like, to do this show, you have to be able to speak. It's like they literally didn't think she could do it, yet they appointed her anyway. And it's like, and then like, why? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you had to know that, he was the oldest president ever. He could die in office. They knew his mental capacity. They had to know that Kamala Harris had to be ready to go. The Veep had to be ready to go. Why not pick someone else?
This was Sarah Palin and John McCain thing, right? Where the reporter comes on and says, she's going to be, 180-year-old heartbeat away from the presidency of the United States. And it's such a damning indictment. Like, that is such a damning indictment. And even in their own mind, she couldn't win. And yet, and honestly, by the way, that's part of the reason why Joe Biden stayed on. I strongly suspect. I mean, I think one of it is it's hard to get power.
Oh, it's in
but
the
the other one is
book.
she can't win.
They didn't want to yank him because they didn't think she could win.
Wow. All right. So what time is it? Okay, we have 4 minutes. I definitely want to hit you with this because I want to get your take on this.
All right.
Hakeem Jeffries. He gets into a buzzsaw with Dana Bash. I want your take on this. Give me your take. And I'm just going to play it and get your take.
You brought up polls, so let me tell you about a new one that just came out here at CNN this morning. It shows that only 19% of Americans say that your party can get things done. 36 say the same about Republicans. And just 16% say your party has strong leaders. It's pretty rough, and you are one of those leaders. How do you turn that around?
Yeah, we don't have the presidency right now, so that's always going to be challenging a few months after a presidential election. But we have to continue to make the case, one, that Democrats, of course, are the party that is determined to make life more affordable for everyday Americans, for hardworking American taxpayers, that we believe that we need to lower the high cost of living, which for decades has been going up while the
Okay, I got to be honest. I feel like this is a Sesame Street thing or like a Charlie Brown thing.
Yeah.
She just told you, dude, that your polling is getting worse. Like, meaning even less Americans, as before, believe that you are the party or the leaders can handle responsibility. And hey, you're actually the leader in the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Give me your thoughts on this. And we have about 3 minutes.
Well, the Democratic Party brand is in the toilet. And I mean, I'm not going to say it's all because of the 4 years of Biden, but it's a significant, part of the reason. I mean, Democratic brand has been the Trump and the Republicans lie all the time, tens of thousands of lies. But we tell you the truth, right? Well, now we just know that wasn't true. Every American who is busy working 70 hours a week and wasn't really paying attention to politics the way you and I do is now fully aware that they were lied to by the Democratic Party and all of their media allies, right? So it's like, of course there are no, and the Democrats don't seem to have like a loyal opposition. They don't have like a slate of laws or bills that they would propose. It's not like the Republicans when they were out of power who were constantly proposing to overturn, to repeal Obamacare. They're not trying to do anything. They're not seen trying to do anything. There's no leaders who are, out. There's no coherent set of leaders who are like, this is who represent the Democratic Party. It's like, well, we've got the progressives and we've got the corporatists and we've got this and we've got that. So the messaging's totally fucked up. My column that comes out today is kind of about this topic, about what they need to do is look at, they're in a crisis. It's kind of like Johnson & Johnson after Tylenol tampering scandal, or Southwest Airlines last year after they had all the flight cancellations because their IT was fucked up, or BP after Deepwater Horizon. They have a crisis on their hands. And, basically the crisis management is very clear. You have to apologize. You have to be transparent. You have to hold people accountable. You have to show that you've learned your lesson and that it's not going to happen again. That hasn't happened with the Democrats. The Democrats, as long as they keep saying, look forward, Biden's not the president anymore, concentrate on Trump, they're digging themselves into the hole more and more and more. So the only solution here really is to have people like Nancy Pelosi, who, after all, is old. She's 85 years old. She's basically semi-retired. Take some responsibility, fall on their sword, and say, okay, we did lie. We lied to you, and we're really sorry. We were scared to death of Donald Trump. We thought he was going to bring fascism to America. We weren't thinking straight because we panicked, because we were so worried about Donald Trump that we did this. And then once we did it, we kept the lie. We had to lie to support our lies, A lot of people have been in that situation. They know what that's like. So we won't do that anymore. There's going to be transparency. We're going to make our party more transparent. We're going to get rid of superdelegates. We're going to fire everyone in the DNC. We're going to start from scratch. We're going to have a transparent, primary process. No more putting our thumbs on the scale. They would have to do all that because it's about nobody trusts them. It's a trust issue. It's like we think you're dishonest and we think that you're incompetent, and we think you don't care about us.
They don't.
And we all have good reasons, and we have great reasons to think those three things. So show us why you're wrong. I mean, why, show us that you've learned your lesson and you're not going to do this again. Show us. Right now,
Yes or no?
there's
Do you see
no
that happening?
indication of that at all.
Right there. You answered the question. No, I don't see it happening either. I don't. Lord knows I could be wrong, but that does not seem to be the angle to which they are taken. Ted Rall, man, I always appreciate these conversations. And once again, thank you for indulging me in my.
Anytime.
Ted Rall, he's a political cartoonist, syndicated columnist, co-host of TMI with the awesome, great Manila Chan, and also Deprogram with the great John Kiriakou. Mm-hmm. Have a good one, man. You be safe, okay, Ted?
You too. Take care, Jamal.
All right, have a good show.
All right, bye.
All right, I want to get to my next